Welcome back to my channel on linguistics and language learning. In this video, I'm discussing the concept of phoneme and phoneme identification. Well, let's first talk about the concept of phoneme. Now, the first question comes up is, how small can you break up language? How small can you break up language? You break up language into sentences or clauses or phrases or words or syllables? Or can you break up language into smaller unit than syllable? Well, this is a question. Okay, this is a question that we are going to answer in this video. Well, the smallest unit of language is sound. In other words, we can say that words or syllables are composed of group of sounds. Well, sound in general is divided into two kinds, or sound can be characterized into two types. The first type of sound is the sound with the ability to distinguish meaning. And the second type, or the second category, is the sound that has no ability to distinguish meaning. And the sound with the ability to distinguish meaning is called phoneme. Okay, this is actually the main topic of our video today. And the second one is allophone. So allophone is different from phoneme because allophone is a sound that has no ability to distinguish meaning. In other words, different sounds, but they have no ability to distinguish meaning. They are called allophone. Well, now let's decide whether these sounds are phonemes or allophones. Study the following pairs of words. Okay, I provide you several pairs of words, and I want you to focus on the different sounds of each pair. Okay, now the different sounds in the first pair is sh and s, and the second one is g and k. The third one is k and ka. The fourth one is p and b, and the last one is a and a. Now, I would like you to study these pairs of words, whether the different in one sound in every word results in different meaning. Now, the first one, let's see, shit and sit. What do you think? Do they have different meaning? Yes. Okay. If they have different meaning, we can conclude that the sounds which are different, sh and s, are phonemes. Okay, so sh and s are phonemes. The second one, back and back. And you see that the two sounds or the two words have different meaning because of only the difference of one segment or one sound in each of the words. Therefore, we can conclude that k and k are phonemes. The next ones, let's see, car and car, car and car. You see, these two words have only one different sound. Okay, the first one is k, and the second one is ka, aspirated k or aspirated sound. So now, let's see, car and car. Do they have different meaning? No. Okay, very good. They don't have different meaning, or their meaning is not different. So we can conclude that k and ka are allophones because they are two different sounds, but they cannot distinguish meaning. The next one is pill and bill. Do they have different meaning? Yes, okay, very good. Because they have different meaning, so we can conclude that p and b are phonemes. The last one is bad and bad. Okay, bad and bad. What do you think? Do they have different meaning? Yes, okay, they have different meaning. Therefore, we can also conclude that a and a are phonemes in English. Why I said in English? Because these examples are taken from English words. So we can conclude that in English, a and a are phonemes. Now, let's talk about the methods of identifying phonemes or the test that we can use in order to identify whether the sound is phoneme or allophone. There are three methods of identifying phonemes. The first one is minimal pair, the second one is contrastive distribution, and the last one is complementary distribution. Now, let's talk about each of these methods in order to show you that identifying phonemes is easy as long as you know how these methods work. Okay, the first one is minimal pair. As its name suggests, pair. So, minimal pair is two words with similar phonetic environment that have. Okay, so there are two words that have similar phonetic environment and that have the first one the same number of segments. So the two words have the same number of segments. The second one is the two words have only one different segment. In each of the words, we can only find one sound which is different. And the last one is the two words have different meaning. So this is what we call a minimal pair. So minimal pairs is two words with similar phonetic environment that have the same number of segments, that have only one different segment, and that have different meaning. In other words, if the meaning is not different, we can decide that the sound is not a phoneme or the sound is an allophone. Well, now let's study the following examples, and I would like you to decide which of them are minimal pairs. Okay, so we have here 3 and 3. What do you think? Are they minimal pair? Now, let's examine these pairs. The first one, do they have the same number of segments? Yes, because the first word is composed of three sounds, t, r, and e. And the second word is also composed of three sounds. They are th, and E. So they have the same number of segments. The second one, do they have only one different segment? Now, let's see. The first word, okay, is initialized by t sound. Meanwhile, the second word is initialized by th sound. So we can see that these two words have only one different sound because the other sounds in these two words are and e. So we can conclude that these pair or these two words have already met the first two criteria or the first two conditions of a minimal pair. Now let's see. Let's decide whether t and th are phonemes. How? By looking at the meaning of these two words. Do they have different meaning? Yes. If yes, so we can say that t and th are phonemes, or in other words, 3 and 3 are minimal pair. Okay, the second one, snack and snake. What do you think? Are they a minimal pair? Yes. They have the same number of segments. They have only one different segment. That is a in the first word and a in the second word. Remember that a is a sound, although it is composed of two phonemes, but it belongs to a diphthong, so it belongs to a single sound. The next one is put and but. Okay, let's see. They have the same number of segments. Both have three sounds. However, they have two different sounds. Okay, each of the words has two different sounds. The first word is composed of p and u, min p and u. Meanwhile, the second word is composed of b and a. So they have two different segments. So we can say that this pair is not a minimal pair. The next one is it and it. Well, they have the same number of segments. They have only one different segment then, and they have different meanings. So we can say that it and it are a minimal pair. Okay, the last one, Ben and cans. You see that these two words have different number of segments, so we can easily say that they are not a minimal pair. So I believe that you know already what a minimal pair is. So a minimal pair can be used as a tool, okay, to examine or to test whether a sound is phoneme or not, whether a sound is phoneme or an allophone. Now, let's come to the second method of phoneme identification, that is contrastive distribution. Contrastive distribution. So, we compare the placement of different sounds in the same phonological environment. Okay, for example, both are located in the final syllable or both are located in the initial syllable. Okay, now contrastive distribution implies that the sounds that are in contrastive distribution can distinguish meaning. In other words, the sounds that are in contrastive distribution are phonemes. Okay, so when we examine that the sounds, okay, are in a contrastive distribution, so we can say that those sounds are phonemes. Well, now let's examine these three words. Okay, the first one is cheat, second one is shit, the next one is bid. Okay, now what do you think? Here you are that whenever we use ch, okay, such as in the word chin, and the sound ch is replaced by a sh. Okay, do the two words have different meaning because of such replacement? Yes. If yes, we can say that ch and sh are phonemes. Okay, so we place the different sounds in the same phonological environment. Okay, and in this example, we put both of the sounds, both of the different sounds in the first part of a syllable or in the initial syllable. And you see that when we use different sounds, we have different meaning. The next one, when I change sh into b, okay, so we have here sheet and we have here beat. And then again, we have the different meaning. Okay, we have different meaning. So we can also conclude that sh and b are phonemes. So this test is called contrastive distribution. So contrastive distribution is done by comparing the placement of different sounds in the same phonological environment. It can be in the first syllable or it can be in the first position of a syllable or in the initial syllable or in the final position of a syllable. So we can conclude that ch, sh, and b are phonemes. Now let's come to the last method of identifying phonemes, that is complementary distribution. Okay, we are still talking about distribution, and this is somehow similar or share few similarities with the contrastive distribution. So, in complementary distribution, we compare the placement of different sounds in a different phonological environment. In the contrastive distribution, we place the different sounds in the same phonological environment, but in complementary distribution, okay, we place the different sounds in the different phonological environment. That's why it is called complementary, okay, to complement. Okay, now let's see here that sounds that are in complementary distribution cannot distinguish meaning. In other words, whenever we find that the sounds are in a complementary distribution, those sounds are not phonemes. Okay, once again, those sounds are not phonemes when they are in a complementary distribution. Now, let's see the example. You see that we have here different sounds in different phonological environment. Okay, the first one here is in the first syllable, and this one is in the second syllable. But the difference is that in the first word, p, okay, p is stressed. Meanwhile, p in the second one is not stressed because the stress is located in the first syllable. And the last one here, that p is located in the final syllable or in the final position of a syllable. Now let's see, okay, whether these different sounds can be placed interchangeably. In other words, whether we can use this condition into the second word or whether the second word, okay, can be used in the other phonetic environment. Now, let's see that pack. Okay, we have here aspirated pa, pa, pack. Okay, pa. Okay, aspirated sound only occurs when voiceless stop. Okay, for example, pa is located in the first part of the syllable or in the first position of the syllable, and it is stressed. Whenever it is not stressed, okay, it is not aspirated. In other words, we can say that pa aspirated p can only be found in this phonological environment. It cannot be used in the second phonological environment or in the last, okay, in the last phonological environment in our example. Okay, the same thing happens to unreleased p. Okay, so this is negative. So this is the symbol of unreleased. Remember that the nature of p is released because you have to release it. However, when it is placed in the final syllable, you should not release it. Okay, you should not release it. So this one is called unreleased p. So we pronounce this keep, not keep, but keep. Okay, so we don't release p sound. Okay, and this can only be applicable when p is located in the final syllable in this phonological environment. So you can see that each of these phonological environment, okay, is not changeable. And this is what we call as a complementary distribution. Therefore, aspirated p, p, released p, and p minus, or we can say unreleased p, they are not phonemes because they are in complementary distribution. Okay, so we can say that ha, p, and unreleased. Okay, these sounds only occur in certain phonological environment, and that certain phonological environment is fixed. Okay, so for example, yeah, unreleased per here. Okay, unreleased per never occurs at the beginning of a syllable. Okay, it must always be placed in the final or in the last part of a syllable. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's all. Okay, this is the explanation about the concept of phonemes and the methods of phoneme identification. See you in the next video.